All right, welcome back, everybody. I don't know what we're calling the show today. It's not quite Jetheads, it's not quite Badlands, but I was at training camp and I was lucky enough to spend some time with Antwan Staley, of the Daily News, and he was kind enough to join me after here. So, Antwan, thanks a lot, man. You were awesome at camp today, showing me around. Appreciate it. What did you think of the day? I think we heard a lot of penalties, a lot of people saying the offense didn't look good. I opened Instagram when I got home and it was already like national accounts were retweeting Connor Hughes saying like the Jets are going to have the first pick in the draft next year. I didn't think it was that bad in person. What did you think today?
No, I wouldn't. It was not good. It was not good at all. Like, let me just be frank with saying that. But I don't think it was like people don't need to panic right now. It's August 2nd. I mean, we knew it was going to be some growing pains with this offense, especially considering it's a new system. You got a new quarterback. Uh, it's questions with the wide receiver core right now, outside of Garrett Wilson. So it's a lot. Like, I think, that's why I think this offense is going to be very run heavy because I think, offensively, I think they're just, catered more to running the football there, obviously with Justin Fields and what he can do using his legs there. And also, the three running backs that you had. You also had, Braylon Allen, obviously Brees. I thought Isaiah Davis had a really nice day too as well, catching the ball out the backfield and also running and finishing, his runs too as well, which I thought really kind of stood out to me. But, yeah, 2 for 10 is not good by any means. I don't think you can, sugarcoat it that way. But, I just don't think people should freak out yet. Like, let's just, you have a month until the regular season starts. Again, we also knew that Justin Fields isn't the most accurate passer in the world. And I think you accept that, but also like you also understand that he's gonna get better over time. So, just have to have that understanding and be patient. Just be patient with it because again, like I don't think the sky's fallen as of yet, but again, you know how Jets fans can be like,
Oh yeah.
any kind of bad news, then everybody just like goes off the deep end pretty quickly. But yeah, I don't think it was like that bad to say they're going to be the first pick, had a first pick in the draft. But yeah, it was. They definitely have a lot to work on, like 10 strand, and that offense definitely has some work to do before September 7th. That's for sure.
100%. I was actually like walking up and down the sidelines, and there was a group of fans behind me who were all over Justin Fields, screaming, "This isn't Chicago. Get rid of the ball!" Like the whole practice. I kept having to like move away from it. I was like, "This is too negative
Yeah,
for
I
me
was
too
hearing it
early."
too. I was hearing it too. I mean, look, I understand he does hold the ball a little bit too long at times, but again, like you know, it's going to be certain things like mechanical wise, like he's, that's just, it's going to take some time to, iron those kinks out too as well. But yeah, I mean, it's August 2nd, man. Yeah, you just be trying to freak out about it. I mean, it's training camp. It's a training camp practice. I think I was probably more alarmed by the penalties more than actually the
Yeah.
bad offense because it's a trend. Like this, we've seen it the last 2 years. Like they led the league in penalties in 23, finished 7-10. They were even worse last year. Led the league in penalties again. It was the worst team in the league in that department, and ended up going 5-12. Again, they're not good enough to overcome mistakes like that. And with a team like this that has an offense that's going to be up and down and still struggling from time to time to maybe struggle to score points, you cannot continuously shoot yourself in the foot. If you do that, then yeah, you're going to be a 5-win team once again. But that's probably the more concerning thing that I have more than so I think the offense is going to get better over time. But the penalties have just been a continuous issue to the last 3 years.
And the timing of the penalties, like there
Yes,
were, I think 2 or 3 touchdowns that were called back because of penalties. There was
correct.
one that was like a 3rd and long where they got backed up and Glenn just ripped him off the field. He was like, "I'm not even doing
Yeah,
this." And then there was the one where Folk made the field goal, delay a game, move it back 5, and then he
they
missed,
missed
right?
it.
So like
Yeah.
there were like really poorly timed killer penalties in there. And yeah, pretty tough day for that.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, like I said, you cannot overcome. This team is not good enough to overcome mistakes like that. Some teams are, but you look at a team like the Eagles, for instance, won the Super Bowl last year. I think they were 11th or 12th. They're kind of middle of the road in penalties. I mean, penalties are going to happen. Like I don't think anybody. I mean, anybody that watches football understands that. Like you're going to make penalties from time to time, but they're just the dumb mistakes, like the ones you can prevent, like delay a game. Like I'm just like, come on, really? Like that is like this is training, like get it going, like have some sense of urgency, understand what the clock is saying, and just move on the ball and snap it. Like those are the mistakes where you're just like, you just have to shake your head at it because we've seen it the last few years, and it's kind of this continuous thing going all over
Yeah.
again. No matter the roster has been turned over, but still you have this lingering issue of penalties, and that's what's the frustrating thing of it is, at least for me.
And Coach Glenn got asked about it in the press conference, like, "Hey, you're already stressing this, and it's still happening. Like, what do you do now? Do you stress it more?" And I think it's important to remember that, like you said, they were the most penalized team in the league the last 2 years. It's not just going to flip overnight because they're having a coach saying, "Hey, guys, stop doing that." Right? These are habits that need to get like kind of pulled out a little bit over time. So yeah, definitely not a good showing. But if I'm trying to put like my positive hat on and like think of this in the bigger picture, like it probably takes a little bit of time to unravel some of those habits and those mistakes. So hopefully they
Yeah.
can clean it up.
Yeah, you're trying to change the culture, and anytime you try to change the culture, you're not doing it overnight. Like it's going to take, it may take a few years, it may take a year. Like it's going to take some time for that culture to change, especially considering again, like the previous regime, they made a lot of dumb mistakes. I don't think I'm, negative for saying that. I'm just being honest. But I mean, they made, they shot themselves in the foot several times, and now you're asking them to play, intelligently, in a different style, like still a physical style, but not like to the point where you're just making, constant dumb mistakes. So yeah, it's going to take some time, especially with the veteran players, because now you're adapting to Glenn's style as opposed to the previous regime style.
Yeah, for sure. So you brought up the running backs. I thought Brees and Allen, like they just looked how we expected them to look. They looked good. I kind of want to focus on some of the other guys. So, like you said, Isaiah Davis looked really good catching the ball out of the backfield. I was surprised about that. I thought Donovan Edwards got like a ton of burn, way more than I
Yeah.
expected him to. I didn't necessarily think he looked great. I'm curious to get your thoughts. And I thought Nwangwu looked pretty good. Like he looked a little zippy coming out of the backfield a couple times. I think he had a long touchdown in the red zone
Yes.
drill, if I'm remembering correctly. But what'd you think about kind of like the lower end of that depth chart overall?
No, Ongo, I think is gonna. I mean, he's gonna make the team. I believe, like especially considering his flexibility on special teams too. And now he can bring something in the run game too, which I think he's gonna be vital in the preseason and see what he can do there. But as far as Edwards, when he first came in, I thought he was a guy that could potentially maybe make the bottom of the roster or practice squad spot. It still could be the case too. I mean, we still have 3 preseason games to go, but as of right now, I don't really know if he's stood out enough to maybe warrant one of those spots there. Again, like we still have some time left, but I think you want a guy that can, if you're going to have a running back there on practice squad, I think you want somebody that has some special teams flexibility too, is considering the fact that, that could be a bit of a question, especially with, depending on what happens with Xavier Gibson. If Gibson is, let's say he's out for an extended period of time, you definitely need, add somebody with some special teams flexibility because he was your main returner the last few years, and now all of a sudden, if he's out any period of time, he had a shoulder injury. Now you're wondering who could be that guy on special teams there that could potentially take that return spot.
So like special teams, running back, wide receiver, Malachi
Yeah,
Corley is another guy that we've talked about, like possibly slipping off the bottom of the roster. Is he competing for a spot with like a Donovan Edwards too? Like I mean, I didn't see him take any running back reps today. He did take a couple kick return reps, I
yeah,
think, towards the beginning of
yes.
practice. But like, could those two guys essentially be competing for some kind of bottom of the roster role?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the thing about Corley is like he doesn't really never really played special teams in the past, but in this like if you're gonna be at the bottom of the barrel, like as far as those roster spots, like you gotta have some flexibility on special teams, especially considering you got guys that I think are playing just as good, if not better than him. Even the undrafted free agents, when you talk about Pritchard and also Skinner, who has that flexibility where they can play special teams. So yeah, he's gonna have to it's interesting that they put him out there, but yeah, that's not necessarily his expertise.
Right.
But again, like, when you're one of those guys that's fighting for one of those spots, then you got to be able to you just do whatever the coaches tell you. So especially considering like he missed so much of OTAs and mandatory minicamp, now he's trying to catch up and I'm trying to be one of those, I think, 6 wide receivers that's going to make the 53-man roster. I still don't think he's there yet, but again, we got some games to play, so we'll see how it all plans out. But yeah, he definitely has a lot of work to do if he wants to make the team.
Yeah. So tell me if I'm being too like positive spinny here. I thought part of the reason the offense didn't look good was because I thought the D-backs looked really, really, really good today. And not just the first line guys. Like AZ Thomas had a pick. Jarris Monroe was all over the place. Isaiah
Yep.
Oliver was all over the place. Actually, at the beginning of practice, I saw Andre Cisco from pretty far away. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, Andre Cisco's not as big as I thought he was. And then he walked away from Sauce Gardner, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
he
he
is
is
actually
huge.
big. It's just
He's
that
huge.
Sauce is huge."
Yes. Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
he's thick too. Like he got, some build to him as well, if you can
yep.
tell.
And
But
so
yeah, to your point, like go ahead. Go ahead.